And hey everyone, welcome to another fantastic IoT Live with myself, Pete Gallagher, or Pete underscore codes, Cliff Agius, and Maria-Anastasia Moustaka. So, if you've not come along to one of these before, then hi, thank you very much for coming along. We generally just chat through a bunch of IoT news that we found in the week and perhaps look at what we've been doing ourselves during the week, and then other than that, talk nonsense. Which we quite enjoy doing.
Talk about yourself.
Yeah. Fair. How are you both this week? I know, Cliff, you're going to be tired because you've been flying.
Yes. I got back from Seattle today, this morning, and it was a long flight home, but pretty picturesque one with all the northern lights and a blood moon rise, which is always awesome to see, which is where the moon rises in the sun, and it's like bright red as if it's been coloured with blood. It does, and there's no camera in the world that will catch it and do it justice. Even the northern lights, they don't look anything like the images that are on that I posted on Twitter. I really wish I could find a camera that could capture them and do them justice, but there's none that work that low light. So it's amazing how good these eyeballs are. That we are given by Mother Nature, because the things we can see that camera just can't capture. Amazing. It was a really cool flight home. My last trip to Seattle for a few years, sadly. I'm the kind of bar. I won't be seeing all the mics I'm looking out there. I'll have to find them around Europe instead.
The last one that the airline are paying for, you mean? I get the feeling there may be trips.
Yes, there is that. Yeah, we've got MVP. Whatever it's called,
Summit.
Summit, that's the one. We've got that as well. So.
Well, I think that's going to be local only. I don't think there'll be another worldwide one of those for a long time, sadly.
But it depends which local you choose. We can choose the Seattle local.
But don't you think that Claire, Adam, and Sarah at least would get very annoyed if we chose to defect across to Cork?
We'll bring it with us.
I think maybe we should be choosing the one in Greece if we're going to choose anyway. What do you think, Maria-Anastasia?
I'm looking forward on my short haul travels to visit in Greece.
Yeah.
Come down and say hi to Maria-Anastasia.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah. So. Rhodes is lovely. I've been twice to Rhodes and really enjoyed it. Beautiful place. So yeah, I'd absolutely go back there without a doubt. Maria-Anastasia, how are you doing this week?
I was fine. My week was fine, but I haven't built my robot yet.
I can easily switch this so there's just two of us in the chat, So I tell you what, I feel like as you were both speaking there about what it was you were doing, I kind of feel like it would be good if we sort of had a little section at the start about what we'd been doing. And even if that's just your amazing photos, Cliff, although of course they'll be slightly different now from now on, so perhaps we're a bit late for some of that. But being as we've got three hosts here, it'd be quite interesting. At least if you've got an IoT project or something, I think we should be including what it is we're doing. I mean, I will be doing that for the Seed Studio, reTerminal and OctoPrint stuff, but that's kind of unfair if it's just me. So we absolutely there we are. So what have you got there, Cliff? What's that?
Playing with ESP32 cam. I'm still trying to get Nano Framework to run on it. It runs on there. I'm trying to get Nano Framework to use the camera.
Aren't you writing a library for that or something?
Yeah, I'm attempting to. It's just it's taken a while.
Difficult at 30,000 feet to write that sort of code, isn't it?
Well, it's kind of the way Nano Framework is built is really interesting because it's all C libraries that you're kind of calling into and interop and everything else, and it's stuff I've not done before. So I'm learning a ton, and it's great fun. But I'm trying not to call on Laurent and the likes for too much help, and Jose, because it's unfair on them for me to decide how does this bit work and how does that bit work. So I'm trying to work out myself from a few blog posts and stuff like that will come from it as well. But it's finding time between all the other things I've got.
Yeah, I can emphasize.
Maria-Anastasia is obviously building a robot. So
or not building the robot,
Well, there is that.
If you weren't around for last week's show, then go find it on YouTube. But Maria-Anastasia, do you want to explain what it is we're talking about with this robot?
Yeah, I bought a car for my students, but I wanted to make to be smart with Raspberry Pi, but I haven't even built the car, so I'm far away from make it smart.
Yeah, not only is it dumb at the minute, it just doesn't move because it's in a box. But I mean, interestingly, to use that as a segue there for what to go back to what Cliff was saying, you could use that ESP32 cam nano framework to do some rudimentary ML stuff on there, because I think you can run tiny ML through that, but I don't know if nano framework would let you do that, but you could certainly do it with the C side.
I don't think that would be the problem. I think the problem would be that you'd run out of memory.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but tiny ML is meant for that, though, isn't it? So
it is, but if you're running nano framework and you're running a camera library,
yeah,
you're going to run out of memory fairly quickly, and I think that'll be the issue. You might be able to install TinyML, you might be able to install the camera library and nano framework, but you might not have enough memory to actually do anything.
Yeah, fair. I know Maria-Anastasia, you mentioned about the about using cognitive services. Actually, I guess you could absolutely use that, which would free up a great deal of memory. But obviously, then you've got the latency, so it depends on what you want to actually make it do. If you wanted to go up to somebody and take a photo of them and recognise who it is, that would be perfectly doable. It wouldn't matter about the latency, but if you wanted to analyse video or something, that would be, live inferencing would probably be past that.
Yeah, the other thing I was looking at, I've actually still got the tab open here, and I've forgotten what they've called it, is on Edge Impulse. They've called it. They've got a new object detection library called FOMO, which stands for, and it's here somewhere, faster objects, more objects, which I suppose is just plain words.
FOMO. Faster.
FOMO, yeah. Faster objects, more objects. But it's super duper small. I think it's running less than 200k of RAM apparently, and it's 30 times faster. So you can do stuff like that. It's I've been looking at that, and they've been using like you see there, the Arduino Nicola, and they've got it running on ESP32 as well. So it's quite impressive what it can do. But their library is all written in Python, which is fine. You could do that, but I wanted to make the camera work for Nano Framework. So if I get it to work in Nano Framework, I think it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to have the camera library working for Wilderness Labs as well. They're both in a kind of similar vein. But yeah.
Impressive. Quite like that.
Yeah, it's quite a small little library and package. You can see there, it's Lewis is doing face detection, the likes. So yeah.
Jeez, yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. I do some work for an organisation called the Zambezi Partners, and I've got a Raspberry Pi set up with a camera on it, and the idea is to make a smart camera trap. And that does object recognition, so it can recognise elephants and other types of animals, but also people in the frame at the same time, and then it'll report stuff out to Azure Digital Twins and put stuff on maps. But obviously there's a cost involved with the Raspberry Pi, so if you could do that with something like an ESP32...
You can do it with Raspberry Pi Pico as well.
Yes, it's the power, isn't it? Because it does it live on video. Although this looks like that does it. So that's
that's what I'm thinking. That's kind of it runs pretty small, and you can run an ESP32, wake it up every 30 seconds, take an image, process it, and go back to sleep again, and then only connect to the network and say that it's seen something it wants to tell you about when it needs to. So yeah, it looks really, really interesting. It's something that I've been reading about over the last few days, and it's a cool little project, or cool little thing from Edge Impulse. So I thought I'd highlight that out. See, it was a tab that I had open.
Yeah, there we go. Look, I'll stick it in the so folks can see it as well.
It is being made. How they're made.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah, you like that. There you are. So that's the link to that particular thing.
Anastasia, you could use. I'm trying to move your mouse, Pete, and it's not working. My mouse doesn't control your mouse. It's just your screen's on my screen.
Steve trying to scroll up and down.
I'm moving the mouse around. I'm like, what's the point of not moving?
Checking the batteries and I like it.
You tell how tired.
Yeah, I do that when I'm perfectly awake.
I was going to say, Anastasia, you could do something like this, and the robot deciding, where to turn, little cars left, or that sort of thing. It looks really, really cool. Sort of thing you can put onto a small little Raspberry Pi Pico or little Arduino board of some kind. It looks. I'm really, really impressed with it so far. And I know absolutely nothing about machine learning and image classification, but I'm quite impressed.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, what's interesting is, of course, that when you start getting down to ESP32 or indeed Pico level, then more than one of them is not a problem, either from a cost point of view or from a power point of view. Pico, probably not so much because of the low power mode being missing with that, but hopefully it's coming soon. But certainly ESP32, there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't have them talk serial to each other and have one controlling the robot and then another one doing the inferencing and just have the two talk to each other that way. So it could actually be a nice way to split those domains up as well so that it keeps the code nice and separate. So I quite like that idea. Off you go. Next week it'll be done, yeah?
I've got a couple of hours that I'm going to devote to it this week to try and see if I can move it along a little bit because I do want to get played. But I might see if I can do this sample for next week on the SP32 so we can get it working and show it off.
Excellent.
I thought much the same. You can use like a Pico or a ESP32 for doing the image classification bit, and a Pico for talking to the network or Woodless Labs board or something like that, or an Arduino board. For doing that sort of thing, do LoRaWAN or whatever you need to do, wherever you are and whatever you're trying to do. I thought it would be kind of a cool project. Let's see. See what happens.
Yeah, I'm just looking. I use my phone for the video side of things, and for some reason the battery's flashing, which I think is telling me that my charger that I've got, the charger that I've got plugged in really just can't handle the power, so I might lose video to Cliff and Maria-Anastasia, but I won't lose audio. But yeah, they might be happy about that. So moving on. This week, we've heard about Maria-Anastasia, we've heard about Cliff. So I've been dealing with, as we kicked off last week, this getting OctoPrint working on this seed reTerminal, which I've got hanging around down here. Hello. So if you missed last week, then there's some kind folks at Seed sent me a free reTerminal in exchange for me trying to get OctoPrint working on it and modifying it so that it works with the touchscreen and the buttons and things like that. So,
Maria-Anastasia, did you receive yours yet? No, me either.
Oh, I'm not.
Well, as it happened, Serena Liang, the person I was speaking to over at Seed, she watched back last week's IoTeaLive and came at me with a bunch of questions about it actually, and she said she'll feed back some of the stuff we found, and she got to the part where we were laughing at the temperature and humidity sensor, and she said, is it too expensive? Why were you laughing? And so I had to explain the context that we always find funny about every tutorial using temperature and humidity. But, a BME 280 is like 30p and it was $59 for a temperature and humidity sensor. She said, oh, is it too expensive? I said, no. No, it's nothing to do with that. No, $59 for a LoRaWAN enabled sensor is about right. It's more about this in running in joke that we've got about this, and she was laughing, so thankfully we didn't upset anybody in this process. But yeah, thank you for watching that, Serena. If you're watching again, it's cool. So trying to get this project up and running. I had loads of different ideas, so I thought I'd just live blog the whole thing. I did at one point think I could like live Twitch everything, but it's very limiting actually if you think about doing that, because what it means is that you can't sit, in whatever clothes you want in the other room working on this. You've always got to be presentable and in front of the camera, and it really limits when and how you can actually do this. So I figured
it also saps some of your thinking ability, because you're having to think about talking, you're having to think about the stream.
Yeah.
So part of your cognitive capacity is busy doing that and not kind of thinking about the problem you're dealing with and what you're working on. I bow to the likes of Layla, Kojit, and the likes that
C# Fritz and folks like that.
How they can run a stream and think about a complex subject that is coding and debugging, and that is just my brain can't keep up.
I think I could do it, but you're right. I think I wouldn't be as good as they are, because I think that takes a lot of practice and perhaps a lot of domain knowledge as well. I
think I could do it if I was working in a domain that I know and understand, and I'm showing off something that I know how to do. But when I'm digging into a new kind of project like you're doing here with the OctoPrint, and that no one else has done, and there's not a blog you can kind of latch off the back of or the likes, you kind of need all your brain to be thinking in the same direction. Off doing something else.
Yeah, and I mean, I get some of that brain drain because I'm live blogging at the same time, but at least it's not it's asynchronous, isn't it? It's not something that I'm doing at the same time. So that's what I thought I'd do. So I started out thinking, actually, like every single project, we always start out thinking that it wouldn't be as hard as actually it's turning out to be. And you can sort of see by the size of my, specifically for the Pi of OctoPrint, and then OctoPrint itself, which is the main brains of the operation. So I thought I'd just have to fork them and modify the code, but to get that done, go and get OctoPrint working, modify the files, and then add some functionality for user buttons and get it to work with the camera. So I went and figured that I'd have to clone all of this stuff onto my local machine and then start making sure we could get this working. So I forked and cloned the repos, and then my blog went live, and the folks over at OctoPrint spotted it and immediately came back and said, don't do that. What you should do is actually make yourself a plugin, and then you don't need to worry about keeping the source up to date. That's our problem. You can just keep your plugin up to date. So I wasn't quite sure what I could do, because we're changing the core stuff here to make it work. But they came back and said, there's actually a couple of different things you can do, and you can, when scrolling down, there's this plugin mixing development docs, and there's a startup plugin, a template plugin, and a UI plugin mixing. And when you look at what each of them can do, and you scroll down, the UI plugin allows it to completely replace the UI served by OctoPrint. So a plugin based on that particular mixin was great. And then the template mixin is a slightly higher level version of that you can just inject your own components into it. And then the startup plugin allows you to add additional services in there, which is where we'd add stuff to do with the buttons. So that changed my tack. So I've got 2 forks that I'll likely delete, but I'm keeping it at the moment because, of course, it could be as I get through that it just doesn't give me the flexibility I need. So I'll leave that in the background, in my back pocket for now. So the docs actually are fantastic when you start looking at them. And actually, I would have thought that I'd link to the docs just there, but we can actually do it this way. OctoPrint development. And you go to their documentations, and it gives you everything you need to get started. So I wanted to be able to set my whole development environment up so I can run OctoPrint locally, and then develop my plugin. And there's a whole section for developing plugins as well. So I've been running through this, but actually it turns out that even just this wasn't very simple. As my, this is like what they said you should be able to do, some of that stuff. So set up a virtual environment with all of that lot. So I tried doing some of this stuff, and I didn't have Python installed, so I had to install Python, which made sense. But something I did notice, that if you type Python -- version, I don't know how easy it is to see if I zoom in a little bit. It says, look, Python was not found. Run without arguments to install from the Microsoft Store. I didn't know that you could do that. So,
Oh wow!
yeah, how cool is that? So I don't know if this is
What version would it install? Python 2 or Python 3?
The latest Python 3 as it happens. So I documented all of that as well.
Is that what the
docs
OctoPrint is built on?
Yeah. So latest stable Python 3 release is what they wanted. So I was guessing that Python 3 was okay. So I installed that. Interestingly, it installs it like in a strange place. You do Python version. I've got Python 3.1, which is exactly what you want. But you can see here when you get stuff, you see it starts installing in like Windows apps rather than in a lot of the documentation you'll see will be just in the root directory. So there's some stuff you've got to be careful of. But that was all installed, and then we just check out the OctoPrint sources, which is fine. Then create and activate a virtual environment. Now, in the dim and distant past, I've done this, but I'd not done it in such a long time. It was basically starting again, and there was some commands that you tried to run, and the commands in the docs just didn't work, and it took me ages scrolling down to try and actually figure out how you get it to work. But I found a command that worked in the end. But geez, I had to start with getting the build tools for Visual Studio, and they give you a link to that, and that just takes you to a page that doesn't actually help you. So then you've got to start drilling down. And I mean, this is the reason why I quite like this, actually, the more I dive into it, is that this is a real life developer situation here. We're actually doing the thing we want to do is a small percentage of leading up to actually being able to do it, nearly always, and it's never straightforward. And actually, when you start, and if you're a freelancer or a consultant or something like that, and you're quoting or estimating for work, this is the sort of stuff that experience means that we will set a price which seems quite high. And it comes down to that analogy of you get a plumber in and he says it's going to be 700 quid to fix a problem, and it takes him half an hour. You're not paying for that half an hour. You're paying for everything else that leads up to that, because he might have like a specialist tool that he's created himself. It took him a month to develop to be able to fix that problem in half an hour. So, it's never as straightforward as just, the just part of that. There's always something else. And that's kind of what this is documenting. So, I mean, geez, look, this is the 2022 version, and you have to look down at the bottom here. There's tiny little older downloads, and then you download that. And all of this is me getting all of that lot installed, and then we can install virtual. Yeah, exactly. Look, so adding virtual end to the path. So I've done that, and that show you how to do that, because although you probably wouldn't go into this level of detail in a regular post, this is, again, live, so this is just how I've been doing it. And then we had to upgrade pip. And then, look, we're still setting up the virtual environment, and here's a command here that they seem to want us to do, and you run it, and look, the fact that we've now got Python in this strange directory means we've got to, run it like that. Give it a go, see what it does, and it doesn't work. Still doesn't work. Still not working. That command didn't work. And then, that command didn't work. And then, all right, well, let's try it with this VN at the start. And so it takes you ages. And then I found a command here at the end of the day, and I thought, I'm not trying this again tonight. I'll just leave it, and I'll come back to it tomorrow. And in the morning then, this company here, Octo Everywhere, contacted me to say, if you want to integrate this into your project, then absolutely do that. And so there we are. So if you need a reliable and secure remote OctoPrint access solution, DM us, and we'd love to talk. And so OctoPrint, one of the great things about it, that and OctoPi, is that you can monitor your 3D printer from another machine. But if you want to be able to do that remotely, then you can use the OctoPrint app, but you've still got to open ports up on your router to be able to feed that through and allow that access. So this is what Octo Everywhere is doing. It's a plugin and a service that allows you to not have to do that. And so it gives it access. It must be sockets that it's using there behind the scenes. But I got back to them and said, yeah, absolutely. But while you're at it, fancy talking at Knots IoT or .NET Knots? And they said, actually, it turns out that this entire plugin is written in .NET 6. So they said they're more than happy to speak at both events. So actually in October at Knots IoT, you can learn how this was built and how it works. And then maybe with more of a .NET feeling, in January next year, we'll have a more .NET version of that talk as well at .NET Knots. So come along to those and catch up on that. And look, I'm carrying on. I'm still doing my virtual environment. And I ran this command as it was there, look. So actually quite simple looking command now compared to as it was before. And it looked like it did nothing, but I actually ended up with a venv directory, which is actually that's a bit later on. It didn't work at that point. Look, and I tried to activate it, and it still didn't work. Look, just doing another search, blah blah blah. Here we are. Look, so that was the command that I needed to run in the end, not that one with the equals in it. I think is pretty much the only difference. And I needed to still point it to my Python and give it to venv, and it looked like it did something. Ooh, is that working? And then I did the activate, and look, we've got a venv directory. Because
you got
yes, so
after lots of
so that what that allows you to do is install packages that aren't global, so you don't pollute your operating system, and you can have unique environments for specific projects. But actually, as I found out later, that even seems a bit complicated. So that appeared to work. We got a venv folder, and when you look at it, we get a bunch of files in there, including pip and an activate directory. And when you look in there, then you get some bits as well. But you're actually able to activate that, and we now get this. It's small. If I zoom in a little bit more, it might be. Oh God, it's gone now. You get a little brackets venv at the start of the. Where are you? Scroll back down again. There we are. You get a little brackets venv to tell you that when you've activated it, you're now working in this virtual environment. So anything you do with Python will be specifically
for that environment.
For that environment, that's right. Yeah. So then you need to set it up. So you need to make sure you've got the right version of pip, which already was fine, and then we need to install a bunch of plugins. And so I did that.
You're installing those plugins into that virtual environment.
Yeah.
You're setting up in that environment.
Yeah.
Even though you set it up before, you've now got to do it again in that virtual environment.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, I think it's packages rather than plugins it's installing. But yeah, so it's installing all that lot. And so it starts and then, it fails at the end because for some reason we don't have Visual C++ 14, which I thought was a part of that build package, but it's not. So it says there, look, Microsoft Visual C++ 14 are required. So now you've got to install that as well. So you click the link. Actually, it's nice of them. They give you a link. Click that link. But that takes you to the exact same page that we went to before for the build tools. But when you look at it, once you've downloaded it and installed it, it actually offers you the ability to tick this desktop development with C++ because you need that particular workload. So if you select, if you go to individual components, God knows what you actually choose because there's just too many to choose from. So I didn't bother with that. I just ticked that workload, and then it tells you that the core features and the redistributable update are there. But if I scroll down a little bit further, there's also these build tools here, the Visual Studio 2019 ones. So I ticked that box and then installed it. Actually, at this point, which I didn't put in the blog, my monitor turned off. And I thought, that's weird. So I've got a Surface Book 3 here and a gigantic 49-inch super wide screen thing, and I've got a Surface dock that plugs into my Surface Book, and then I've got the monitor plugged into that, and then I've got on a bunch of other stuff, including a USB hub plugged into the dock. And so normally what happens is, something's failed, and I just have to unplug the dock and plug it back in again. So I did that, and that didn't work, and I unplugged the power to the dock and plugged that back in again, and turned the monitor off and back on again, and that didn't work, and that was me a bit worried at this point because I thought something had blown up. So I've got a Surface Pro that I use for the streaming down here, so I unplugged the dock and plugged it into there, and no dice on there either, so I think maybe the dock's dead. That's not good. So I unplugged everything from the dock and plugged it all back in again, still didn't work. Looked, and it didn't look like there was a little light on the thing that plugs in to the Surface Book. So tell you what, I'll go down and I'll unplug the power. So I had to move stuff out of the way to get to where all the power stuff is underneath my desk down here. Moved the bin out of the way and found the power brick, picked the power brick up, and the power cord fell out the back. So it obviously wasn't plugged in right. But I don't go down there, so how, which mice have been unplugging that power cord from the back of that dock that just lives in there all nicely?
Danger Mouse, obviously.
Yeah, something like that. So
Danger Mouse.
Yeah.
Danger Mouse is danger.
Yeah, he can sod off. So I plugged that back in again and it all came back into life. But that was half an hour of my life I won't get back, which was... So, yeah, but I mean, luckily I wasn't actually doing a great deal at that point. I was waiting for this thing to install. And once I figured that out, I went out and had a cake with my wife. I came back and it was all installed. And so I ran it again and it all worked, which was nice. And then look, but
where have you got to now? So you've got all you've managed to do is get your virtual environment set up and the tooling installed.
yeah, that is that part. So I cloned the Git repo, got Python installed and build tools installed, and
All in the virtual environment.
and a virtual environment, and that's working. So that's I don't know, a day and a half to get to that point. And geez, that's a long time, and I've not actually accomplished anything, not written a single line of code at this point. And I'm not finished at that point either, because then once you've done that, at least you need to do this pre-commit, and I've never even heard of that before. But it's to do with GitHub hooks. Pre-commit hook is run first before you even type in a commit message, and it's used to inspect the snapshot that's about to be committed to see if you've forgotten something. I'd never heard of that before. So to make sure tests are run, to examine what you need to inspect in the code. So I ran that, and it did nothing as far as I could see. So I'm assuming it worked. And then I did a dir, and I could see some stuff in there. But you can see, like, it looked like Git hooks pre-commit. So I went into that directory and look, Git, and there's hooks. And when you go into hooks, then you get a bunch of stuff in there, including that pre-commit, but a bunch of samples. So I've not looked at what they actually are yet. But that looked like that worked. And then we've got a final line here, git config blame, which I thought, well, I've heard of git blame before, but I've never really looked at that before. So tell you what, maybe it's to do with like omitting files from the GitHub check-in, so you don't check in a bunch of files. And when you open it in VS Code, funnily enough, look, we've got 730 files that need checking in. And when you look at it, it's actually mostly the lib directory, which I would have thought a lib directory, which is like the packages you download, wouldn't be in your source code, source control. So, you know, it should be. When you look at an example git ignore rather, for a Python project, you get a lib, so it doesn't do it. But when you look at the one in the OctoPrint project, it's not there. There's no lib in there, so it's not ignoring it. So I don't know why that is. So, you know, I ran it, basically. And when you actually look at that file, by the way, git blame ignore revs, actually all that is doing is like undoing commits to do with any linters and formatters that are going on, so you don't get all of that cruft in there. So I ran it didn't do anything, or at least it looked like it didn't do anything, because when I opened VS Code again, it still had 730 changes. So I've kind of ignored that for now. I thought I'd just check git status as well, because that should display a list of files, and you can actually see when you run that lib directory is the main source of all the files, and then a few others that you can actually see. So it agreed it wasn't a VS Code thing. So I gave up and thought, leave that. I'm not going to do any check-ins for now, but I don't know how, if I need to make any modifications to this, I guess I'm going to have to exclude that lib directory. But if I do, is there like an automated build somewhere that relies on that? Because if you exclude them packages, then the automated build's going to go and have to find them packages and install them for it to be able to build up an image. So
is that because the lib folder has got all the core libraries, and they don't want you to update those because they will change?
Well, that's why I would do it, but it's absolutely a horrible idea, because essentially you're source controlling an already source controlled thing, because it's not just one library, it's hundreds, and you shouldn't be controlling the source on those. But yes, that's probably from a, you know...
You're changing the libraries, aren't you? You're making changes to make your plugin and your whatever you're doing, your wizard.
Yeah, so it's a good reason to include them in your source control, so at least you've got a single point of truth. And if one of those manufacturers of those, producers of those packages changes something, then, you know, you don't have to worry about it too much. Go away, fly. Anyway, I gave up on that, and then I thought, well, let's configure VS Code so I can run this project. So you create a bunch of files. If you've ever done any VS Code work, you'll know about settings, tasks, and launch.json. You put them in a VS Code directory, and you can configure it so you can F5 debug your application. So that's what that's all about. And when I first saved the file, it told me I didn't have the right Python interpreter selected. So I selected this one here that looks like it's in venv, look, but OctoPrint venv. So it could turn out that this was actually the wrong idea, and this because it's about as far as I've got. Because once I'd finished selecting that, and then I tried pressing F5 after I'd done the rest of the files. Make sure you got the Python extension installed. You've got to install a linter and a formatter. That's what that line's there. But when you press F5, so I ran it for the first time, it starts complaining that it's missing modules. So it's missing Click. So I thought, I'll install it. So I installed Click and then ran it again. And by the way, when I tried to run it, I ran it there in that venv, and it just said there's no module named Click. So I ran it in the terminal then in the end, pip3 rather than pip install, and that installed it, and then I ran it, and then look, now it's not got workzug, whatever the heck workzug is, no idea what that is. And so I installed that and then ran it again, and now it can't find zipstream, and so it's like there's a whole heap of packages that it's missing. So I installed zipstream, and then look, it said now it needed zipstream.ng. So at this point, I can't just keep doing this because I'm obviously doing something wrong. And then at that point, I said we need to be going on to Azure Live, IoTeaLive. Yeah. So I stopped. But a couple of different things is that I think maybe just change the Python interpreter to point at a different one. So where is it? Where's that dialogue?
The OctoPrint one, the other environment one.
Yeah, that's right. So here, look. So I think maybe that one, 3.107 venv, that one maybe in the workspace is
the one above it hasn't got a venv. It's .scripts, isn't it? But it's within that.
Yeah.
No, it's not the same.
Yeah, different location though. One's in .scripts and one's in .venv. So I don't know if that's the same scripts. I don't think it is because it's .scripts. Look, so I've got a feeling maybe changing that might fix the problem. So that's what I'm going to try and see if that does. If not, then
are you then going to go level up, which then means it's going to be okay.
I'm not sure, but if I can't get that working, and I've not closed it, it's over here. So if I just drag Discord down onto the screen, then there's two communities that you ought to be aware of. One is the seed community, so you can go and join that. So that's absolutely something you should go and do. But there's also a OctoPrint community, and I was welcomed in there by some folks. And in fact, I got to talking to the person that sent me the tweets about not doing the fork. But folks have essentially said, look, if you've got some stuff that you want to do with plugins, then ask us in here. So if I can't get that working, I think tomorrow I'll ask in this community and say, look, what am I doing wrong here? And see if I can get some help. And they'll probably just go, did you not read the docs? But I thought I did. So tell you what, look, I think that's probably enough of me going on about that. I'm just going to put a link in the chat to this. And actually, I think, let's see if I can get this to work. I think it's OctoPrint reTerminal. OctoPrint reTerminal. I think this is the link to that blog. So if you go to that, then that'll take you to this blog, and I'll just keep updating it. I save it regularly, so you should always have pretty much the latest bits of information that I've been working through during the day, so you can sort of see what I'm doing and how much head banging I'm doing as I'm going along. So yeah, do check that out. I've enabled comments at the bottom of this as well, by the way. So if you've got any comments, then by all means stick them in there. I'll need to keep checking because I've restricted it so everything goes into an approval process before I approve them. Otherwise, you get all sorts of drugs and stuff being advertised in there we don't want. So that's what that's about. So yeah, so that's
my blog doesn't have comments on it for that exact reason.
Yeah, fair enough. So that's all of that lot. So the news, and we'll zoom through this because
we need a jingle like Johnny Chip.
Yes. Yeah. We need that. You're right. The other thing that I'd like to try and do tonight is try and finish at 10 o'clock. Because again, it gets quite late for everybody, especially Maria-Anastasia. So we've got 20 minutes now. I thought that should be enough time to rattle through this, but what I probably won't do is make all of the bitlies as we go, because it's just a waste of time. One day I'll hire somebody to bitly everything for me. I'll just give everyone a list and somebody else can bitly them all. That'll be nice. But anyway, look, Raspberry Pi radio controller doubles as a handheld gaming rig, and I like things that look like this. That looks like a Switch Lite. Looks like a Switch Lite, doesn't it?
Oh, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Super light Switch Lite.
Yeah, and that screen looks
Dinky.
nice as well, doesn't it? So,
Yeah.
so it's I think it's a regular Raspberry Pi that's in there as well. I don't think it's an RP2040. When I looked at it, where was it? Visit the project thread on Reddit. Yeah, so there's more pictures on there as well. So, that's not good. I didn't want to go there then, did I? I click Reddit and actually go to GitHub. Need to update that. That wasn't me. Anyway, so yeah, it looks quite cool. So they put RetroPie on it is what they've done. But I like that. Look at this. It says moving servos. So I like that. It doesn't say temperature and humidity either, does it look? So
Which is really good.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that looked pretty cool. So that is in the chat now. So go check that out. Over-the-air updates for MCUs with Azure Device Update. So this Azure Device Update's actually been around for a little while now. I think it was announced at Build last year, where the IoT Hub allows you to be able to control the flow of updating devices directly. And actually this one looks like it's talking about RTOS and FreeRTOS for this. But it looks like Wellington Duraz, who I've spoken to a few times, cracking guy, is talking about using OTA here. So, and is like full getting started with a sample and everything for an ESP32. So, all the time in the world is what we need. But I want to have a go at doing this and see what it actually looks like. Because yeah, that's one of the sort of missing chunks from the IoT stack.
I think this is one of the reasons that Nano Framework is moving across to the Azure RTOS, is to get the likes of these kind of add-ons from Microsoft for free, because they're building all this tooling that works as part of the Azure RTOS. RTOS, if you don't know, stands for real-time operating system. So it's the bit that actually runs the chip and gets it to do its stuff. Yeah, so I think that's one of the reasons that they're moving it across to RTOS, so that they can get all this for free, which would be kind of cool, because it means that your Nano Framework device will then suddenly be over there updatable, just by using the Azure IoT stack.
Yeah, it's
kind of cool.
Isn't
I like that.
FreeRTOS the one that's on Mars? I think there's a device. I think it's the Mars rover uses FreeRTOS, and it was Microsoft bought FreeRTOS after that fact, so it wasn't them that did it. But yeah, needless to say, that's pretty cool. I like anything like that. So that's cool. This one actually plays off of what we were looking at last week. So look. So we were looking at converting bottles into... How cool does that look? So it's not automatic, but it's more automatic than the other one. So create some strips, look, and then you feed the end of the strip into the extruder, and then it extrudes filament for you. Quite thick-looking filament, if you ask me, but maybe it was just the image. But that looks like an ender to me. It is. And they're creating a box using that extruded filament. So I thought it was really cool. Look at that. So yeah, that was on TikTok. Yes, I've got TikTok now. I am trying to be as good as Scott Hanselman.
You should delete TikTok.
For this sort of stuff, it's quite cool.
It's full of tracking stuff. Do you not listen to Security This Week?
Yeah, but I'm tracked everywhere. Everything I do is tracked anyway, and I'm not bothered really.
Yeah, but this has got
has it?
loggers and all sorts in there. Yeah. So that's why I'm telling everyone I know to delete TikTok. It's got keyloggers and all sorts of nasties in there, and it's part of the China kind of world. So your keylogging of all your stuff is going there.
Yeah, we don't want that.
It's fine if you're running it on the kind of something that you don't tap your kind of all your passwords into your password manager key and your banking details.
Yeah, okay, thanks. You've cheered me up. Cheered me up now.
Yeah. I thought I'd just share it.
Yeah, thanks for that.
You're hacked.
Next up, we well, at least I and I think Cliff and Maria-Anastasia like retro stuff as well. And obviously, if you can see behind me, I have a bunch of retro stuff, and in my loft I also do. And we were talking about the Archimedes that I got recently there. I've got a fly on the wall. We're talking about the Chinese spying. This fly is spying on me. It came in when my daughter came in, and it sat on top of the camera, right above the lens. mocking me. I don't think it's a horsefly. Hopefully not, because I don't want to get bitten. It's already got bitten on the leg the other week. Anyway, that aside, spying. This is still IoT. So inside of the Amiga, the Amiga had some amazingly powerful custom chips. And this is one of the Magnus. So it was Agnes and Denise was the other one. And they handled video and audio. And they did some amazing things, actually. And another one called Alice. And so somebody's actually made a new universal Agnes chip. So you can replace your Agnes chip if it blows up. It's really hard to get a replacement one. So this is a replacement for that. Really, you see this in Spectrums as well with the ULA, it's called, which is kind of the brains of the machine aside from the Z80. It's the thing that controls all the video and how that all works. And when they blow up, they're hard to replace because they're, custom made chips like VLCs and stuff like that. So that's what this particular thing is.
Made in the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so finding them is hard. So so you'll see this happens quite often in the retro scene where people will make replacement chips. So there's again the Spectrum one. You can buy a replacement ULA. And obviously, it's not as good as having the original, but it keeps your machine running nonetheless. So that one was pretty cool. If you're
is this like Trigger in his room though? You replace enough bits and you've still got the same room. I've had it for 30 years, but it's got a different handle, a different head. But I've had it for 30 years. It's still my same room.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, exactly that. But yeah, I mean, you can even buy replacement boards, like newer versions of boards for the motherboard for A500 Amigas and A1200s. And repopulate them with different chips and stuff like that, and then put it in the original case. And of course, at that point, it kind of feels like you should just emulate it on a Raspberry Pi because you get a way better result. But right, you're off. They're leaving again now. I've locked you in because otherwise people come in and try and steal everything. Well, could happen. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. See you later.
Bye, Will.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm gone now. So it's pretty cool. I like that sort of stuff. So that link is in the chat for you to look at. This was cool. You see this? Look at this. E-paper segments.
I was quite impressed with this actually.
Oh,
I like that.
E-paper.
Yeah. So I like the look of that. I didn't actually dive in to see what it was all about, if I'm honest. But
It's basically just got little e-ink screens. Just like connect them all up in a matrix and just control them. Very clever build.
Yeah, this is 7 minutes long. I'm not going to watch this whole video, but look at that. That's quite cool.
Very clever.
Yeah.
So, and obviously, being e-ink, when it's done, you can take the power away, and it will keep the displayed message for quite a while.
Look at that. How's he afforded that? I'm getting attacked by this fly.
What I wouldn't know is where he's managed to get all the parts from.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a world chip shortage. How have you found all these parts?
Yeah, that's mega though. Look at that. Is that? I'll tell you what you could put on there as a periodic table, couldn't you? That'd be quite cool. So that's quite cool. I like that. So yep. Veering off a little bit, friend of the show Johnny Chips, also a member of the IoTeaLive family, along with April Edwards and a few other people, are running Microsoft Tech Days. So Adam Jackson is involved with this project and Sarah Allison as well. So Tech Days, you'll remember if you follow this show, a year or so ago, we had this fly is doing my head in. We had a Tech Days Flight into IoT event of our own. Stupid thing. So not only do we get visitors from outside, we get tiny flying visitors as well. But this is what live telly's all about. At least it's not a horse pooing on the floor or something like in Blue Peter. So yes, we ran Tech Days Flight into IoT, and in fact, keep your eyes peeled because there's a Flight into IoT 2 coming soon with all of these same awesome folks that we had before. But anyway, they run different themes, and we had the IoT one, but there's also a DevOps one, and Johnny Chips and April Edwards and folks like that are doing that, and that's coming up soon. So definitely go check that out. And I know it's not IoT. We would be very remiss not to mention this, as we've got some fantastic folks that we're all friends with involved in that. So yeah, Esther Bartel, April Edwards, Barbara Forbes and John Lunn. So what a fantastic group of people. So go check that out. The link is there in the chat for you to be able to go do that. Elevate your visualizations using Azure Managed Grafana. So I don't know if either of you use Grafana.
I've looked at it. I've not had a project I've needed to work on, but you wrote a few blog posts about it quite a while ago, didn't you, Pete? You used Grafana for charting out some stuff, and it was those blog posts.
Yeah, so Grafana is a free open source graphing platform essentially. So if you use the Azure platforms, and Time Series Insights is probably what you'll have used, or Stream Analytics as well. But Grafana allows you through a bunch of plugins to be able to ingress data into this platform. But generally, you'd have to host that yourself in a VM or something like that and get it all installed. Or you could use the Grafana Cloud platform, which is generally what I use anyway. But now there's an Azure managed version of this, so is this a service that you can spin up? Now I've not looked at it yet, but this is a great idea because you can keep your Grafana instance and all of your IoT stack all now in the same place, the same resource group or something like that. So that's kind of what Grafana looks like, and there's a multitude of plugins that you can install into it. But it produces some beautiful looking dashboards for data visualization. My one is monitoring, temperature and humidity, I'm sorry, but it's also part of a project that's monitoring all sorts of other airbound chemicals, CO2 and NO2 and stuff like that. So the dashboards I've got are quite large actually, and I'll talk about how you can get that up and running in my blog posts. But yeah, so now you can go check that out because there's an Azure managed Grafana instance you can spin up. This is really cool. So RP2040 stuff. But look, that's basic. They managed to get basic working.
Go back.
Basic with line numbers, look.
Oh, wow.
How cool is that?
That's taking me back, that is.
I love that. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Flashing.
Someone with
Yeah. But how cool is that? I like that. And we always like...
They've done traffic lights as well.
Yeah, we like that.
Yeah.
Look, that's Christopher Barnett's replying.
I love the comment. This is proper computing.
Yeah, if you've not checked Chris Barnett out, actually, he's a futurist, and he's got a YouTube channel. I think it's called Help with PCs or something like that. Forget quite what it's called. Apologies. And in fact, if I click on it, it probably says explaining computers, I think it's called. It's really good. It actually sounds like Johnny Ball to me with the way he speaks. And if you're old enough, you'll remember Johnny Ball from...
Awesome.
Yeah, that's right. So, and we had him at a Lati event. I'm a member of an organisation called Lati, and we had the big event, and he came and spoke at that, and immediately liked the way he speaks.
You're not following him though, Pete?
No, I think... no.
Because you run out of people you can follow.
Yeah, watch, look. Oh no, actually, it's let me do it now. Typically, but because I follow too many blooming people, there, look, 5,001 people. Turns out you can't follow more than 5,000, but you can follow 5,001. That's zero-based indexing for you. So yeah, do go check out his YouTube channel actually, because it's actually quite good. Let's stick that in the link, and he talks about Raspberry Pis and stuff in there, and explains them when they come out. So look, there's the Pico look and stuff like that. So yeah, do go check him out. It's pretty cool. So that's that. Look at the time. We've got 4 minutes left to do all these tabs. Look at this.
Go.
Look, this is a Raspberry Pi 400 computer, and somebody's put this nice wide touchscreen LCD on there, which I quite liked.
Cool.
I like the look of that.
Cool.
Yeah, so it must just plug directly into the back in there. So, and there's a full instructions here by the looks of it on how you can install that, get that running, if you can install that, if you can understand that language, which I can't. But you can click translate, look, You can translate it into English, and there you can look. See, it's easy. So that's pretty cool. So go check that one out as well. That can go there. Creating Bear. I don't know what that meant. Embedded projects uses CMake and Eclipse. So this is like bare metal stuff, I think, which always seems like it'd be quite difficult to me. But you can do this with Raspberry Pi as well, where you can make essentially your own operating system without having to load Raspbian. It always appealed to me doing something like that, because obviously Raspbian takes up a vast amount of resources. Look at that. Dean says that screen must look like your ultra wide. Yeah, pretty much. So look, this is doing LoRa with this embed stuff here, and that's an NXP. Yeah, so that'd be a dev board that they've got there. So that looks like that's a pretty cool tutorial to get you up and running. Because if you ask Olivier Bloch, he will attest to this. And anybody that's in the IoT space, getting CMake and all of those that tool chain all installed and working on your machine, a bit like my Python problem, but way harder, is hard. So any help you can get.
I had hair last time I tried.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's always a good point. So have a look at that. Pico W IoT Starter Project gets you into Home Assistant quick as a flash. Look.
I read this the other day when you tweeted it, actually, Pete. It's quite a cool little project.
Based on the Arduino Pico core. So I don't think this is actually the Raspberry Pi Pico W itself. It's the Arduino version of that. So that seemed like that was pretty cool. It's using MQTT under the hood. So whenever I see the Pico and MQTT now, I always wonder if folks are using the blog post that I created. I had a couple of people tweet me about that, which was quite nice. Oh, I found your blog post. So it kind of makes it worthwhile when folks come to you and tell you that they've been reading it. So Dean's asking have you done any projects on security with Defender for IoT? As far as I still write exam questions for the AZ220 exam, and every now and again we have to write questions in that particular part of the OD, and so I have to go and look at it, or just be really careful. But there's two different types. Actually, there's more, but there's like these micro agent versions that you run in IoT Edge. So that runs like a Defender module down there, and then you run into the service in Azure. But there's also another one that runs purely in Azure, and if you sign up all of your IoT hubs to that, you're locked in for a month, and it's very expensive. So be careful if you do that. They may have changed it, but last time I looked at it, they hadn't. So locked in for a month and having to pay is a bad thing. So just be careful with that. So that's that. That's pretty cool. Demystifying machine learning for industrial IoT applications. Look, maybe you need to go have a look at this one, Maria-Anastasia, and see see if there's anything in here. But there's a bunch of stuff about data acquisition and stuff. Who wrote this one? Yomit Vagler. So I've not dived in and had a look at this actually what this is, but this looks like this is pretty low level stuff actually. So maybe this won't help. It wouldn't help me. Yeah, but look, this is Azure Machine ML Studio, I think, by the looks of it, is what they're looking at here. So, Azure Machine Learning Pipelines. Yeah, so which I've seen before. I saw a talk up in Sheffield that showed some of this, and it's pretty impressive, actually. So, do go check that one out. That's pretty cool. CSV. Look, so this sounds like it's not actually IoT related, but actually it's talking about Apache Avro, which, if you didn't realize, is one of the supported formats for talking IoT hub and telemetry. So it's a compression algorithm really to be able to reduce all of the overhead of a CSV. So that's what that's talking about. So if you want a bit of information about what Avro is and how that works, then you can find that.
It's actually a different version of JSON. You got JSON, and it's like a way of getting all your data squashed into a smaller file. It's a CSV-esque kind of file structure. So
yeah, exactly.
I even said JSON like schema. So yeah, just means you can open the data in Excel as well.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. So it's pretty cool. So go check that out and give you a bit of background about using Avro. Apart from anything else, it's the same link. This looked pretty cool. Iris. So this had an Arduino Uno, and interestingly, I think it's just LEDs. So it looks like that. Look, ooh. We got a better photo of it a bit further down. Look at that.
Yeah.
So that looks pretty cool. It looks pretty nice.
What does it do?
I don't know. I can't remember. What's it say? Desk device for more convenient communication that mitigates the invasiveness of notifications. So it's for notifications then, which I've seen various different versions of these for like when you do builds and the build fails and it lights up red or it goes green when it's deployed and stuff like that. So actually, I saw a really cool one over at Uni Days actually, and the guy that owned that department was a massive geek, and he built or bought an R2D2, and he had that make all sorts of different sounds, and if the build failed it would go it was pretty cool, so I liked that. That was cool.
Again, your builds wouldn't fail. You put the time and effort into actually, sorting the build out. So you wouldn't need a building until your builder fail because you put the effort into doing the build correctly.
That's boring. Don't do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty cool. So
blog post. I mean, it's quite well laid out blog post there. I like that.
Johnny Chips is here. We see. And welcome back. Johnny Chips has been over to Canada. We gave you a mention there. I don't know if you got that, Johnny Chips. You'll have to rewind. But we're talking about your DevOps Days, Tech Days DevOps event. So we've put a link in the chat there for folks to go and sign up to that. Very exciting. Good luck with that. So that's that one. And then, look at this. Testing out the Talkie library on Arduino Uno. Using this microchip makes thing, so don't know if the audio will work. Actually, I don't think it will. But if you just click the link yourselves, then you can go figure that out. So I guess it's like a speech synthesizer, is what that's actually demonstrating there. So that's quite cool. Look! Congratulations to the crew who carried out investigations that included student-led Raspberry Pi studies. So this is the AstroPi project, where there's now 2 Raspberry Pi 4s. With the brand new Raspberry Pi hat that's got a bunch of stuff in it, including depth of field sensor and an IR sensor and color sensor and stuff like that. And students can write Python, and they can, I think actually also JavaScript, but probably just mainly Python, experiments in space that will run on the space station.
You can do both. It runs on the station, and you get if you're just doing the school like children one, you get your code is only allowed to run for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
If you do the bigger one, then it runs for a bit longer. But the 30-second one, you then get a certificate. Because my boys have done it the last couple of years. They get a certificate, and it shows where the International Space Station was in space for that 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But you don't get to see what the output of your code is. So, and that's the downside. So, this year, the elder of my 2 sons wrote some code to do something. I can't remember what it was now. He was checking the sensors or something, and it's that would be really cool if you could see what the output was. If it somehow sent the result down, so you as a student you could see the results. But I suppose you've got to be part of the bigger group, like the older kids doing that. But I mean,
a Raspberry Pi camera connected to the Raspberry Pi that just took a screenshot when it was running.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that'd be cool.
This year, it was a camera in this hat, and in the most pro version, Raspberry Pi sent the photo of the Earth from above.
Oh, okay. I remember. Yes, it was pointing out the Jupiter, wasn't it? Yeah. So you could then do some images of the Earth and do something with it. Yeah, that would have been cool. Did your students do this, Maria-Anastasia?
My students do the Mission Zero because they are their first year. But one of my older students took part in one team of the more difficult project, and they had they won something. Their project have a distinction.
Okay, well done to them.
Yeah.
That's awesome news. Cool. Yeah, I do like the AstroPi stuff because it is is very cool. Anything the Raspberry Pi does is cool, but that is next level. So yeah,
I like that. I've just checked why my phone wasn't charging, and it reckons the temperature's too high. I need to find a better way of doing this.
Because it's all this hot news that we've got.
It is. It is. I've got 7% left on the video for. It's all right. You everyone here will still be able to see me. It's just Maria-Anastasia and Cliff won't. So yeah, do go check that out. That is the link to that in. Fly is doing my head in. Right. So that's that. Moving on. This is a NAS case that somebody highlighted using a Raspberry Pi, I believe. CM4 look down there so you can see it. Quite expensive, 149 quid, but it looks like, I don't know if it comes with everything you need. I doubt it comes with the NAS, with the drives, obviously, but it's a case for it, fans and everything. Lord knows how much it actually takes as far as power is concerned when everything's plugged in, but that's
got a NAS, then you're going to be close to the wall, aren't you?
Yeah, that's okay, but it's more about your electricity bill these days, isn't it? So that looked quite cool, actually. I quite like the look of that. It's got a built-in switch by the looks of it as well. So yeah, I like that. And I mean, that's not a horrendous price, $149.
No, and considering they've got quite a few drive bays in there, that's quite impressive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a lot of terabytes. So yeah, that was quite cool. So go check that one out. That was cool. ESP32 board supports 2.4 gigahertz LoRa and an RF transceiver. So these LilyGo boards, I've seen these before, and that's got a screen on there as well. I've used these LilyGo boards, and they are actually quite cool.
I've got one in my workshop actually, but I'm not there tonight because it's raining. I didn't want to get wet. So yeah, I do have a LilyGo board, but they're a little bit harder to obtain. Sometimes.
Yes.
So there you go.
Yep. Look at this Ardu cam. So it's a Raspberry Pi with a camera, and I thought about you when I saw this, Maria-Anastasia. So it's specifically about the camera this is and what it can do. But 120 FPS. So look, it actually works as a depth sensor. So it looks like it's infrared, but it's not. Actually, the darker it is, the closer that item actually is. So I thought that was quite cool, actually. And I mean, low res. But,
I'm working on it.
Oh, there you go then. So do go check that out.
That link,
yeah, it's in the chat. So go check that one out. So that's depth sensing. So that's cool. Another. This actually was sent to me by Sasha at Uno Platform, and Dot Morton. I've followed him for ages. I've not seen this, and he set up a Raspberry Pi Zero and this lovely little round screen, and he'd got Uno Platform on there, which is a XAML multi-platform based, a bit like Maui. And yeah, so that was pretty nice looking and works really well by the looks of it. So yeah, I like that. So go check that out. I'm down to 3% on my phone. It's going to die ever so soon. So that's okay. 5 AI and IoT trends. So this is another Microsoft blog here about AI and IoT trends with Intel and Microsoft. So I think this is almost, yeah.
It's their annual one, isn't it? Where they put out, talk about, it's the, it's a pop up on mine as well.
Yes, exactly. So it's a little bit of marketing, but there's some interesting information in that as well. 2% on my phone, so you'll lose my video soon, Cliff and Maria-Anastasia, but everybody else will still be able to see me, so don't worry. Pico W powered garage door. We love these Pico W projects. So Pico W powered garage door opener, simple but effective. So yeah, these boards, you can buy these expansion boards from Pi Moroni. And go play with those. So there's a whole project write up on how you can do that too. And look, I'm whizzing through, but I'm running down while we're doing it. So that's that same project actually. Why I've got that linked twice, I don't know. Digital twins of an Apache helicopter, and the reason why I brought this up is because obviously this could play some role in Flight into IoT too. Because we want to do digital twins, so I thought that was quite cool. Which is just a bit of information about. I think it's an overview rather.
Johnny
than...
yeah.
Yeah, my video is now gone, so you'll be able to see that.
No, you're still there. You've just turned 90 degrees.
Oh, have I? Well, the phone's turned off, so we'll see how long I stay there.
Right, okay.
So yeah, so
somewhere then.
Yeah, it's the TikTok one. So that's that one. So that was pretty cool. That fly is still invading my space. So it's going to die soon. And there's a video here, a TED session.
All I can think now is after the stream ends is Pete doing like a Benny Hill sketch around his office.
No, it's going to be like that Rowan Atkinson B movie thing that he did recently. There's just everything will be on fire by the time I finish. So
there'll be a tweet in the morning with Pete's office smashed to bits.
Yes,
and this fly is still sitting on top of the pile.
That's exactly what it'll be like. Yeah, I can put this back in again now. My phone, being as it's off, it probably still won't charge because it is 1,000,000 degrees. My phone is for some reason.
Don't do it then, because otherwise you'll destroy your battery.
That would be bad. Well, it won't charge it even if it's too hot anyway, so it's protected. So fly. Anyway, go check this out. Rob Tiffany's said it's a great presentation. If you've not followed Rob Tiffany, he's quite a famous IoT guy. Go check that. I love TED Talks, actually. One of my favourite things is to go past 15 minutes and watch.
Yeah.
They are good.
Have you watched the one we forced the kids to sit down and watch it about the procrastination monster?
Maybe. Don't know, actually.
Really, really good. We sat the kids down and there you go. Procrastination monster. That's it. That's the one, the top one there.
Oh, okay.
Very, very funny. Very funny. But also really kind of pertinent to kids and doing homework. It's very good.
3D chocolate printer. Yes, please. Yes, 3D printers and chocolate, two of my favourite things. So that looked like that was pretty cool. And yeah, you can extrude.
Yeah, really, really good printer actually, because it's. I watched it on the Prusa Live at the 3D printer conference thingy, and yeah, they were showing off how cool it is. But it's basically 3D printing inside of a fridge, effectively, and that's how they get the chocolates cooled down.
That's pretty cool.
Very, very good. Very clever what you can do, because you can pause the print, you can bridge across. With it being in the fridge, you can just go really slowly and pull the print. It's very clever. I like it.
Yes, me too. You can extrude all sorts of cool stuff out of a 3D printer. Funnily enough, some exotic materials is what it's called. I'd like one of those. Interesting, on the right-hand side over here, you can see meet Simone Yetcher. That's how you pronounce that, her name there, not Geertz. But yeah, she's awesome. If you've not followed her, actually she had like a brain aneurysm or something like that and had to have a major surgery and recovered from that. And she's made some absolutely fantastic stuff. In fact, I'll just put the link in the chat here because it's well worth checking out. Look, she just makes funny stuff, but just to teach herself how to do stuff. Can she do it? That sort of stuff. So a few of her projects feature in a couple of my talks just because they're so cool. So yeah, definitely go follow her. And then getting towards the end of this now, an ESP32 running Nano framework, which is what piqued my interest on that. But the RAC 2305 and RAC 3171 LoRaWAN modules, so connected to Things Network. So actually, this is quite cool. Low power connectivity.
I've been following Bryn's on the Discord, the Nano framework Discord. I've been following Bryn's progress with this. It's quite impressive what he's managed to get done. It's very cool.
Yes, I like that. Look, actually at the end, because that's actually back at the start. So that closes that. There's my code I was trying to get working earlier. Look, I wonder, should we do it? Look, let's. Can I click on this and then change my Python environment? It's got JSON with comments in there instead. How do I change my Python environment? Now maybe I need to I don't know. Probably do it up here. Python. I thought this was going to be easy, but it's not. Interpreter. Select interpreter. There we go. Let's change that and see what it does now for F5. It'd be quite cool if this actually happened to run on here for the first time. Yeah, exactly. See what it does.
Yeah.
Doing something.
Yeah, it did all this before. Did all this before.
Back to the start again.
Oh, hold on. Oh no, I saw some red. Oh no, this might be working. Didn't get this far before. Allow access.
Ooh.
Hello. Oh, still doing lots more things.
Oh,
I did see some red flash by a while back, but it seems to be carrying on.
red's okay. Red's okay. It's just warning.
That's just going to do.
It's doing something.
It is. It never got this far before. Hello.
It's calling in on after startup tracking, so it's starting.
Yeah.
It's running, isn't it?
Well, I think it might be, but have we got like where it's running? What address is it running at? Does it actually tell me that? Tell you what I could do. It's dropped off the top. Wait, it's not dropped off the top. Let's have a look. Does it actually say anything about where it's been served?
It'd be towards the end, wouldn't it? If it tells where it's running.
You'd have thought so, wouldn't you? Pip 3. So it looks like it's doing a bunch of stuff here, doesn't it? Or is that just my original?
That's you typing.
Yeah, it is.
It's got your.
That's not. That's it.
Command line.
Yeah, serve dash debug. I'll tell you what. The docs you would have thought would actually tell you where it's running, but
I think it is,
yeah, I think it is, but I don't know where it is. I'm just going to bring this down onto the screen. I mean, it's served, but
it showed it index.html there, so maybe there's the page you've got to go to. Would it be on localhost?
Yeah. But usually it's on a port, isn't it? But is it just serving it on 80? Well, that's IIS, so it's definitely not serving it on 80.
Live debugging again.
Yeah. I don't see anything that actually tells you where it's served to. Oh, that's such a shame. So it looks like it's actually running, but I can't tell you. Well, all right, then let's just try a couple of the common ones. No. Sometimes it's 8080. Doesn't look like that was that one. Or 8081. No. All right, so yeah, who knows where that's actually been served to.
What was at the end? What was the last of the end of the terminal output?
Well, that's at the end. Oh, hold on there, look, there. Starting intermediary server on that, localhost 5000. Did I try 5001? Is that what I did? And I didn't try 5000.
I think you tried 5,000.
Nah, I did 5001, I think.
That's got a different.
It's not stopping.
You might need to put the actual IP address in rather than localhost. What was the IP address?
Well, it was 0000, but that is localhost. That's just a different way of putting localhost, isn't it? Oh. Yeah, that's not going to work either. I wonder if maybe it wants to be localhost 5000 rather than HTTPS. Oh.
Do you have to do slash?
It's doing something though. Look. Look. Oh, look. Well, there you go. So it does work.
Now you're going to have to put this link to this recording of IoTeaLive into your blog post because this is where we missed it. And me and Maria-Anastasia are going to take full credit for helping you fix it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We debugged with you live.
Yeah.
Bit of mock debugging there.
That's right. Yeah, no, absolutely true. Yeah. So actually that's pretty cool, and look at all that. So you get a bunch of stuff. So that's actually debugging live in here, so you can fiddle with the code and actually see the difference. I'm not going to go through any of this. Something that was really cool actually is that if I just drag this window down onto here, look, you can set up a virtual printer for debugging. How cool is that?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a plugin. again, so it really describes that plugins are the way to
It'll
go.
just slowly run through your G code, which is what 3D printers do.
Yeah, but it's great. So you can sit on a train and you can write your code against this virtual printer rather than having to have the real printer to be able to go against. So, and you can also test edge cases.
It's using YAML. So, yeah.
Yeah, there is that. But
yelling at my laptop again.
yeah, but it's still, I thought that was quite cool. So I've not got that far yet, but look at this. I'm happy with that now. So, geez, 2 days to get to just running the existing code.
Hello.
Yeah. Yes, time to flash for an IoT thing is how long it takes to get from buying the device, plugging it in, and actually getting the LED to flash. And usually that's quite slow for something like a Raspberry Pi. So you've got quite a lot to do and quite fast for an Arduino. And obviously this time to hello world for OctoPrint debugging was quite slow.
You've not even done anything with the Seed Studio yet. You've literally just doing all this on the laptop.
Yep, yeah, that's still just sitting there doing nothing. So, yeah, there's a long way to go. I mean, I need to look at how we start creating plugins apart from anything. But if I can get it so that I could replace just the UI and put Hello World on it and deploy it to the reTerminal, I think I'd be quite happy with that as a starting point. There's a lot to do because I've got to get it on there. Yeah, I don't know yet. There's a lot to do. It makes me tired thinking about it, actually.
Yeah.
So there you go. So look, go on.
Theoretically, you should be able to just take your environment, whatever you've done to set up your environment on your machine, because you spent a lot of time just getting the environment set up. You should be able to take that environment and stick it on the Seed Studio because it's just Linux, and like repeat those steps to install all the pip and the other libraries directly onto the CM4 that's in the back of the Seed Studio. And you should get this far, but it would be on the screen as opposed to rather than it being a web browser, it would be on the screen, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
See that sound with the screen.
Yeah.
I think that would probably be where I'd go next, is trying to see if I can get that environment set up on the CM4.
Yeah.
Now you know which commands to type, don't you? Because you've tested them all.
Yeah. I don't know. Kind of feels like an anti-pattern that, because obviously I've got a really powerful machine here and not so powerful CM4 that I'd be developing on. I think it's probably far more likely that I'd be writing my.
No, this proves the fact that you can run OctoPrint on the. Yeah. I suppose I see what you're saying. Yeah, because you're doing this so that you can test your plugin, not set it up. Yeah, okay. Something
like that, but it will need. Yeah. I'll need to get it from. I kind of. There's a few different things. Obviously, we know we can take that reTerminal to bits. And we can install an operating system on it. So I can actually just get the basic OctoPi installation and put that on there, but then it would be missing all of the stuff that makes the reTerminal work. So I'd have to add that in. So probably...
Which would be your plugins that you're going to have to write.
No. More than that, because there's low-level drivers and stuff. You remember when we tried to set this up last week, it said, don't do the updates. And that's because it's got some bare bones stuff in there that they've merged into the distribution to get it to support the touchscreen and stuff like that. I think the way I'm thinking about doing this is that I'd far rather have like a bash script that you could run on the reTerminal with it already set up with its own setup, and it just downloads.
Oh, right. Just
everything.
Like your .NET one.
Yeah.
Where you just, yeah.
That's where I think I'm going to go with it, but I might be wrong, as I have been frequently. So, yeah. So, look, I'm looking at OBS on the laptop, and everybody looks really jerky. So, for those in the chat over there, apologies if that stream's coming across as really jerky. Cliff, you look like you're at about 2 frames a second. So, I don't know. I've upped the power on my laptop, but apologies if it was all off on a skew. So I don't know. We'll have to check the recording, I guess, in a bit. But yeah, thank you a little bit, but audio is good. Okay, well, I suppose that's the main thing. Thank you all very much for coming along. Thanks to Maria-Anastasia and Cliff as well for all of their help. We should be back next week as well. So more IoT news and more updates on where I got to with this. Hopefully a little bit further than where I am today. And we'll catch you next week. So yeah, see you all soon. Bye.
Bye everyone. Good night.